What is up, y'all? I'm Frosty Osty0232, back again to do another Frosty Features. So we're gonna do Frosty Features Agatha Harkness. So what this is, I am an avid comic book reader. I love things like the MCU, the shows, stuff like that, but when new characters come to Marvel Strike Force, they give a very short blurb, and I often find that they're a little bit lacking. So this is a video kind of on the comic book background of the character, just to give you a little bit of what this character actually is, because sometimes they're represented kind of weird in the MCU. In Agatha Harkness's case, her costume, her in-game skin, actually Anne Wong, who was the last announced character, their in-game skin reflects the comic books, not the MCU. So a couple people have been like, what the hell's going on? So in this situation, the ball's definitely in the comic book court. So we're going to talk about Agatha Harkness, and the idea being that you can get some of the stuff from her past or from the comic books, what you may be able to expect for her kit-wise, and or maybe some story stuff that comes up, just so you know who you're playing as when you play with Agatha Harkness. Give this video a like, subscribe, help your boy out. So let's get started. So Agatha Harkness, boom. So this is actually what Agatha Harkness looks like, right? She is an older lady. Yes. First appearance, Fantastic Four, number 64, 1969. I'm going to reference this a lot. The way that I know Agatha Harkness is that she is the baby. She's a babysitter. She's a professional child watcher, right? She's a professional child watcher, and it's very important because the way she does it, she's essentially like the highest profile in the Marvel universe, right? Which sounds insignificant, but wait for it. So she first appeared in 1969 in Fantastic Four, number 64. Power/abilities, various forms of sorceries. Her and Morgan Le Fay have a lot of parallels, but as far as I'm aware, they don't really interact a bunch. She is an ancient witch. Just like Morgan Le Fay, she's thousands of years old, and her knowledge of sorcery reflects that. She's quite powerful. Unlike Wong, right, who isn't that powerful in sorcery. Aliases. So this is, I wanted to point this out because this is actually the first time I've ever heard this. Aliases, she's a no-dual, which in the comic book world apparently means she has no other name she goes by. So, like Wong wasn't a no-dual because some people refer to him as, like Magic Wong and a few other, like, random little things, but, Agatha Harkness is only ever referred to as Agatha Harkness. So she has no other aliases whatsoever, which is kind of cool, because for all the Frosty Features, I think this is episode 9, there hasn't been a single one that was actually a no-dual. So it's just a new thing I found out, and I wanted to pass that on to you, just in case you didn't know that. Affiliation. She is part of Daughters of Liberty and my love Strange Academy. So Strange Academy is currently a Doctor Strange run in comics that's going on right now. It's essentially if Doctor Strange was Dumbledore and he founded Hogwarts. It ties in with Death of Doctor Strange though, so blah 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 blah. No spoilers, but it's good. Agatha Harkness is a teacher in the Strange Academy. She's teaching people how to use magic, and she's part of the Daughters of Liberty. The Daughters of Liberty are I think the way that kind of works is it parallels the Sons of Liberty, but it's a bunch of super powered women who work together to make sure that everyone's rights are kind of upheld. So they first form in the 1800s, which is when Agatha Harkness gets involved with them, and then later Captain America gets imprisoned for he gets framed for the death of Thunderbolt Ross, and the Daughters of Liberty are the ones that they fight to get him back. So she's part of that. Just in case you're not picking this up, she is a good guy, more or less, with a messed up mindset, and you'll see that moving forward. But in WandaVision, she kind of comes off as the bad guy, like she's been the bad guy. She is a bad guy. Agatha Harkness is essentially she's kind of like Magneto when Magneto's kind of vibing with the X-Men. He's a good guy with some like messed up thoughts, right? So Agatha Harkness kind of rides that train. She actually is very much a good character. But in the MCU, we really only see her as a villain. So background, I did some math, right? So on Marvel, if you look on Marvel, the Marvel wiki for Earth 616, it says that she is 18,000 years old. In the comics, she's referred to as having seen the fall of Atlantis, and it's approximated that she was born 500 years ago. So if you look up the fall of Atlantis and then you add 500 years, theoretically, Agatha Harkness is 12,117 years old, approximately. So she's quite old. She's been around for quite a while. She is one of the first Salem witches. When the Salem witch trials and things came up, she was there. She also was one of the founding members of New Salem, which is after the witch trials, they moved to Colorado and set up like their own coven. And they called it New Salem. She was a part of that as well. So really good point. And actually, a thing that because we're getting all these new characters is because of Apocalypse coming to Marvel Strike Force, right? One thing that I find really interesting about Agatha Harkness, just for the fact that they didn't have her become a horseman, she is a big proponent of survival of the fittest. She thought that the Salem witch trials was a good thing. So like Apocalypse, like almost as if Apocalypse is a good guy. She legitimately will let like a lot of witches and stuff be killed because if they die, that means they weren't strong enough to survive, like Apocalypse. But she is not a horseman. She is not a horseman of the Apocalypse. She is on the Darkhold team, which she's never dealt with the Darkhold, and once again is not a villain. So I have a lot of feelings about how that Darkhold team was arranged. But anyway, she's a good guy, even though she's got messed up thoughts. Cool. More qualifications for a horseman than the Darkhold team. That's my opinion. That's my opinion, y'all, but that's where we're at. So, anyway, and that's not the only time she agrees to this kind of mass slaughtering of her people, right? She's totally fine with it because only the strong ones kind of pull out of it, which makes for a really good nanny, right? I said the nanny thing earlier. You'll get it. Relationships. Scarlet Witch student. She is famously the teacher of Scarlet Witch. Once again, in the MCU, they kind of are at each other's throats. Scarlet Witch does fight and kill her in the comics for different reasons, but Scarlet Witch actually really goes back and forth with being a good guy and a bad guy. So anyway, yeah, so Scarlet Witch is her student. Ebony is her familiar. Ebony is this badass cat that can turn into a giant panther and like rip everything up. And he's damn near immortal. He's a demon. He's a familiar. But he's to defeat Ebony, you have to essentially kill him on a molecular level. You have to completely decimate his existence. He's really cool. Nicholas Scratch is her son. Scarlet Witch, Doctor Strange kind of villain. He actually, in the comics, he looks fairly similar to our version, the Marvel Strike Force kind of skin of Mordo. He looks like Nicholas Scratch quite a bit. Yeah, and then Nicholas has various children, which means she has 6 grandchildren, 3 girls, 3 guys. And I believe they're all villains. Notable events. Here's the piece. Here's the stuff, y'all. Nanny to a god, right? So we talk about in a minute we'll talk about my form of power scaling for the for the Marvel universe. She is the nanny to Franklin Richards, who in my opinion is one of the strongest beings in Marvel's existence. Depending on what line of comics you read, Franklin's powers are kind of here and there. But the Fantastic Four needed somebody essentially to watch their child as they were like fighting and stuff like that. And Agatha Harkness heard that they were looking for somebody like that, and Agatha was very interested, not only because of, you know, Franklin has some famous mommies and daddies, mommy and daddies and uncles, but also Franklin's powers are insane. And at the time, they didn't exactly know what Franklin's powers were, but when we look at my power scaling, Franklin is a multiversal powered individual. He literally can start and stop existence on all timelines and all dimensions. He's insanely powerful. So she was there not only to protect Franklin, which she did on a few situations, because honestly, she has the capability to potentially 1v4 the Fantastic Four. She protects Franklin, but also she helps Franklin understand his powers and trains him how to use them. Because Franklin isn't using magic, but his powers, he's essentially like the Reality Stone on crack as a person, right? So you have to be really careful with Franklin. And as a kid, he could have just accidentally ended existence itself. So Agatha Harkness would watch him, right? So it's kind of cool. She essentially was a nanny to a god. Mentor and resurrection. So she came across Scarlet Witch. Scarlet Witch, she's the one. So Scarlet Witch's canon has been rewritten a few times. So at first, Scarlet Witch was a mutant, and then it revealed that she was not a mutant, she was a witch. And then they went back and they said that, I believe in its current canon, she's a mutant that uses magic, right? So she has mutant abilities, but the magic is just enhanced by that, which makes her the Scarlet Witch. And I believe that's current canon. I could be wrong there. Let me know in the comments if I just messed that up. That's totally fine. But anyway, so she goes back and forth on being Scarlet Witch goes back and forth on being insane. And there's a point where she decides that she needs to kill Agatha Harkness. It all has to do with her being impregnated and having her fake children. So Nicholas Scratch is the one that kind of makes Wanda think she has kids. And then Agatha disowns her, but Scarlet gets mad, kills Agatha. So what we're seeing here is they are trying to aid the goddess of witchcraft. And so this is Natalia Maximoff, which is Scarlet's mom. So it's Natalia, Scarlet Witch, and Agatha, and the spirits of Agatha and Natalia help Scarlet to free the goddess of witchcraft. And then Natalia sacrifices her soul to resurrect the goddess, and in resurrecting the goddess, she also resurrects Agatha Harkness. So Agatha Harkness has died twice. But she's still up and running and is solid now. So Agatha and Scarlet Witch go back a long ways. Scarlet Witch essentially got control of all her chaos magic and stuff because of Agatha. She's the one that pointed out that she uses probability magic and chaos magic. So Agatha has a lot. She's in a bunch. She's been around since 1969. She would show up very often in various forms of comics. She's extremely powerful. Now let's talk about her power level, which I debated myself on where to put her on here. So my power level rankings go thusly, right? Multiversal, that's Franklin Richards. Multiversal is somebody who can end existence as we know it in every dimension. Can just at their whim just decide reality no longer exists or it needs to change. Universal is they can end their universe or, take out a galaxy just by swinging their hand or whatever. But they can't really end things on a multiversal level, right? They have to kind of swap dimensions or whatever. Cosmic is planetary destruction. They can take out a planet at a time. Nuclear, city annihilation. You can take out large areas on a planetary body. City is pretty much you're strong enough to take out a brick, like a solid wall, like a brick wall. You could take it maybe, if you tried real hard, you could take out a building. We're looking at like Daredevil, Spider-Man levels there. And then there's Greg. Greg is the undead Asgardian that Hela spawns. I think that under the right circumstances and with the right weaponry, I could probably take out Greg. So for the sake of argument, I'm saying that Greg is the power level of a regular human being. So I went back and forth. There is a point where Agatha actually uses Franklin ends up in comas a lot. And I believe it's multiple lines of comics that he ends up in a coma, but she uses his powers through his coma to kill Ultron at one point. It's the fact that she can control Franklin really kind of puts her on a multiversal scale, but on her own, because she can be defeated. She was defeated by the likes of Scarlet Witch, who's also very powerful, but she stands up to the Scarlet Witch. So she's at a universal level. She is more or less as strong as she needs to be. She does have a glaring weakness. If you can kind of get in within reach, she has no physical prowess whatsoever. Essentially, if you can touch her, you can beat her. But you have to get to her, and her cat Ebony will f you up if you try in the meantime. But anyway, so that's what we've got. That is our upcoming character for Marvel Strike Force, Agatha Harkness. Let me know if I missed anything in the comics. Let me know if you liked anything I said. If I just got stuff wrong, that is a-okay. Hit me up. Let me know. Give your boy a like. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. I also stream on Twitch on Sundays starting at 8 a.m. We do our Frosty Features live there. Come hang out with us. Drop your boy a follow. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Stay cool.